Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Welcome you to our weekly sessions on Bhagavad Gita as it is. So today we would continue reading chapter number 10, verse number 17 onwards. Katham vidya aham yogim swam sada parichintayan keshu keshu cha bhaveshu chintayosi bhagavan maya. O Krishna, O Supreme Mystic, how shall I constantly think of you, and how shall I know you? In what various form are you to be remembered, O Supreme Personality of Godhead? So here, Arjun denotes how devotees are so merciful. They are not only bothered about their ultimate well-being or attaining the supreme lotus feet of Lord Krishna, but they are also concerned that how this same knowledge, this beautiful philosophy can be understood by all the souls, all the common men of this world. And that is why Arjunji is asking this question, so that all the people can be enlightened, all the common men can be enlightened, who are generally busy in their day-to-day activities. And thus Arjunji is trying to understand through Lord Krishna in which various forms he can be remembered, and this can be benefited by all the common men. विस्तारेणात्मनो योगं विभूतिं च जनार्दन भूय कथय तच्चेहि शृण्वतो नास्ति मे अमृतम्. O Janardan, again please describe in detail the mystic power of your opulences. I am never satiated in hearing about you, for the more I hear, the more I want to taste the nectar of the words. So, Arjunji is bringing out a very ecstatic phenomena about hearing about Lord Krishna. also very unique characteristics of the pastimes of Lord Krishna, which is that, and that is why it is it is described as Amritam, because it simply gives you a relishing feeling, and you can taste it again and again. So when you read about the pastimes of Lord Krishna or his devotees, you would be so much enthused to know more and more and want to read it again and again. And when you read it again and again, you would come to know about various aspects which you haven't discovered in your previous reading. So that's why it is Amritam. Shinvato Nasti me Amritam. So this is like nectar. And we have seen in many homes there is a tradition. Most in various parts of the countries they read various scriptures on a daily basis. For example, in North they read Ramcharitmanas. In some parts they read Mahabharat. So it's like a ritual that every day people would get a after taking part they would read Ramcharitmanas or Mahabharat, and this has been followed by generations. And we see that those people, they get a taste of, although they are reading the same book, they are reading the same pages, but because they are getting a taste out of it, so they can do it again and again and again throughout their lives. So we can understand that this reading of Lord Krishna's pastimes is so wonderful. And because again Lord Krishna is unique, he is transcendental, and he's the Lord of Lords. So his pastimes are also transcendental. So they are unlike any other fiction or any other piece of literature. And thus if we spend time on reading these books containing the pastimes of Lord Krishna, we would be immensely. Shri Bhagavan हन्त ते कथयिष्यामि दिव्य हि आत्मविभूतया प्राधान्यता कुरु श्रेष्ठ नास्ति अन्तो विस्तरस्य मे. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Yes, I will tell you of my splendorous manifestations, but only those which are prominent. O Arjuna, for my opulence is limitless." So, Lord Krishna himself says that his opulences are limitless, and we being situated in this body which has its own limitations, whose senses are not capable to understand the varieties of phenomena, and our life is short. So because of all these shortcomings, you won't be able to understand Lord Krishna in full. So that's why Lord Krishna here would mention only about his few of his unlimited opulences, and we should hear it with a with a with a belief that we might not be able to understand all of this, but still we want to understand as much as possible so that we can relish Lord Krishna's pastime. We can worship Lord Krishna, because once we know someone, we would be able to worship him in a better manner. So that should be our mood. अहमात्मा गुडाकेश सर्वभूताशय स्थिता अहमादिश्च मध्यम च भूतानाम अंत एव च. I am the super soul, O Arjuna, seated in the hearts of all living entities. I am the beginning, the middle, and the end of all beings. So here Arjunji has been has been called by the name of Godakesh, which means that one who has conquered sleep. So this usage of word Gurakesh is considered very significant here, because if we are ignorant, or we, by ignorance, by the mode of ignorance, we know it means either foolishness or laziness. So if we want to remain in that mode, then we won't be able to understand what Lord Krishna is trying to say to us through Arjunji. And thus we should be receptive. We should try to be receptive about what Lord Krishna is saying and try to follow it as much as it is possible. So that's why we have to get out of this mode of ignorance, and once we try to get out of it, Lord would also help us, and by the means that we try to be receptive to what we are reading or what we are hearing, and try to have faith on all the words, all the shlokas, whatever is mentioned, and by that faith we would be able to transcend the mode of ignorance. So here Lord Krishna, the first thing which he is saying here is that he is the super soul, or he is the seated in the heart of all living entities. And we know that just like any body, for any material creation to work, there needs to be the power of the spiritual spark. So for example, any living being, we know that there is a soul, and because of that soul, that body moves or performs different kinds of activities. But once the soul goes out of the body becomes lifeless. So similarly, Lord Krishna, who is the super soul, he is present in all the living beings, and he is also the reason of the existence of all, let it be all the living beings or all the phenomena that are taking place. Because we know that, and from various scriptures we know that before the creation of this material universe, Lord Krishna expanded into these three forms. So the first one is the Karanodakashaya Vishnu, and from Karanodakashaya Vishnu we know how different universes manifest from the pores of his body, and through his exhaling, through his exhaling and through the pores of his body, all these universes keep manifesting, and when he inhales, all those universes are submerged, or they become unmanifested. And then we know that again, once these universes manifest through Karanodakashaya Vishnu, then Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, another expansion of Lord Krishna, he then enters each of these universes. So one form, this form of Garbhodakashaya Vishnu enters in each of these billions and billions of universes that are emanating. And then from Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, the creation starts, because from Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, from the navel of the Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, a lotus flower blooms, and on the lotus flower, on the tip of the lotus flower, Brahmaji manifests, and then from Brahmaji takes part in all the creations. So we can understand that how the beginning of all the creation is also Lord Krishna, and how once as I said, that once Lord Krishna in the form of Karanodakashaya Vishnu inhales, all the universes are unmanifested. So we can see how he is the beginning. Adityanam aham Vishnu Jyotisham Ravir Anshaman Marichir Marutam Asmi Nakshatranam aham Shashi. Of the Adityas, I am Vishnu. Of lights, I am the radiant sun. Of the Maruts, I am Marichi, and among the stars, I am the moon. So, there are these 12 Adityas, or they are the they are representations of sun, and then of all those Adityas, he is Vishnu. Lord Krishna represents as the Vishnu, and then of course the sun himself is considered to be an eye of Lord Krishna, and then the Maruts are the various winds, okay? And amongst the prominent or the controlling deity of all those winds is Marichi, who is also a representation of Lord Krishna. And again, within the stars, Lord Krishna is represented via the moon. So from this verse 21 onwards, we would see how Lord Krishna is symbolized in various creations or various phenomena, or in various aspects of this material universe. Okay. So now next verse 22. Vedanam sama vedosmi devanam asmi vasava indriyanam manaschasmi bhutanam asmi chetana. Of the Vedas, I am the Samved. Of the demigods, I am Indra, the king of heaven. Of the senses, I am the mind. And in the living beings, I am the living force. So, we can understand that in all the living beings, it is because of his presence that the living beings are, they are actually living because of Lord Krishna's presence in the form of the Super Soul. And the characteristic of his presence is the consciousness. So if Lord Krishna is not present in the form of Super Soul, then the soul won't also be able to exist within this body. And this characteristic consciousness, as Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport of this verse, is that this consciousness is itself is a transcendental phenomena. It cannot be created by many material things. Okay, so verse 23. Rudranam Shankarasasmi Vittesho Yaksha Rakshasam Vasunam Pavakaschasmi Meru Shikharinam Aham. Of all the Rudras, I am Lord Shiva. Of the Yakshas and Rakshasas, I am the Lord of Wealth, Kuvera. Of the Vasus, I am fire. And of the mountains, I am made. So again, there are 11 Rudras, and amongst those 11 Rudras, Shivji is prominent, and Shivji is again a representation of Lord Krishna, as here Lord Krishna himself declares. Purodhasam cha mukhyam mam vidhi partha brihaspatiam senanim aham skanda sarasam asmi sagara. Of beast, O Arjuna, know me to be the chief Brihaspati. Of generals, I am Kartikeya, and of bodies of water, I am the ocean. So we know Brihaspati ji is the chief of all the priests, because he is the priest of the demigod Indra, and Brihaspati is also a representation of Lord Krishna. And then of all the military generals, Kartikeya is the foremost. Kartikeya, the son of Shivji, he is the foremost, and Kartikeya is also a representation of Lord Krishna. Maharshinam Bhriguraham Giram Asmi Ekam Aksharam Yajnanam Japa Yagyosmi Sthavaranam Himalaya. Of the great sages, I am Bhrigu. Of vibrations, I am the transcendental Om. Of sacrifices, I am the chanting of holy names. And of immovable things, I am Himalaya. So from Brahmaji initially came some prominent sages. I mean, Brahmaji manifested these prominent sages, and amongst them, the foremost is Bhrigu Muni, and Bhrigu Muni is also a representation of Lord Krishna. Then Lord Krishna says that he is the chanting of the holy names. Now, again, the chanting of holy names has been highlighted to be like the chief of the sacrifices, or the primary yajna, because the chanting of holy names, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, as prescribed in scriptures, the Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, it is invested with all the potencies of Lord Krishna. And this method is so simple and yet so much effective that bestows this form of sacrifice to be the highest one. So it is universal, it can be done by all and everyone, and it is prescribed for this Kali Yuga, because in Kali Yuga the time is so short. I mean, the lifespan of the people is so short, and there is always a crunch for resources to perform any other form of tapasya like dhyan or yajna is practically impossible. And that is why this chanting of holy names has been prescribed, and it is so easy. And as I said, the holy names, this Mahamantra, has been invested with all the energies of Lord Krishna, and thus we should strictly take to the chanting of holy names on a regular basis. Ashwatha sarva vrikshanam devashinam cha narada gandharvanam chitraratha siddhanam kapilo muni. Of all the trees, I am the banyan tree. And of the sages among the demigods, I am Narada. Of the Gandharvas, I am Chitraratha. And among perfected beings, I am sage Kapila. So, in India, many parts of India, banyan tree is worshipped. Maybe people don't know this fact, but the reason banyan tree is worshipped is because the banyan tree is a representation of Lord Krishna again, and people worship the banyan tree. Some people are aware of it, but some people, I mean, in many families, in many communities, this is performed as a ritual. But the very reason is because this Ashwatha Vriksh, or this banyan tree, Ashwatha as known in Hindi, this Ashwatha Vriksh is a representation of Lord Krishna, and that is why the worship of Ashwatha Vriksh is prescribed in scriptures. And another fact worth mentioning here is, here Lord Krishna says that he is manifesting by this sage Kapila, and the sage Kapil Muni here is being referred to the son of Karda Muni and Devahuti, and he is again incarnation of Lord Krishna. So this Kapila Muni shouldn't be confused with another Kapila Muni who had given an atheistic view of of this philosophy, and thus this needs worth clarification. That Lord Krishna represents Kapil Muni, who has propounded or who gave the teachings of devotional service, and he first imparted, Kapil Muni first gave these teachings to his mother Devahuti, and we would read about it in details when we start reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Verse 27, Uche Shavasam Ashwanam Vidhi Mam Amritodbhavam Airavatam Gajendranam Naranam Cha Naradipam. Of horses, know me to be Ucheshava, produced during the churning of ocean for nectar. Of lordly elephants, I am Airavata, and among men, I am the monarch. So, both the Ucheshava, the horse, and the lordly elephant Airavata, both were produced when the churning of ocean was done by the demons and the demigods, and through that churning process nectar had emerged, and from the nectar these two animals have come out. And here Lord Krishna mentions that I am the monarch, which means all the kings, all the righteous kings who had ever ruled on the planet of earth, like starting from Maharaj Bharat, by whose name we have got this name of this land which we today known as India, but actually it is named as Bharatvarsha or Bharata. So starting from Bharat Maharaj, then Lord Ram himself, then we know about Maharaj Yudhishthir and his grandson Maharaj Parikshit, and then there have been numerous kings in this lineage who have ruled the planet of earth with great righteousness, and under their rule all the people were happy, they were satisfied, they didn't have any difficulties at all. And such kings are representing Lord Krishna, because the king is also protecting all the wards, all the citizens of his country. So he's through his dealings, he is actually representing the care of the Supreme Lord. Just like Supreme Lord is caring for all the souls, all the entire creation, similarly the king is also that righteous king who actually takes care of all the citizens, not only the human citizens but also all the animals, all the natural reserves. So one that king who takes care of the entire country, he or that particular righteous king is also a representation of Lord Krishna. Ayudhanam aham vajram dhenunam asmi kamaduk prajam chasmi kandarpa sarpanam asmi vasuki. Of weapons, I am the thunderbolt. Among cows, I am Surabhi. Of causes for procreation, I am Kandarpa, the god of love. And of the serpents, I am Vasuki. So, a couple of things worth mentioning here is that in the transcendental or in the spiritual universe, there is a category of cows who are Surabhi cows, who can be milked at any time of uh, the the day, and they give enormous quantities of milk. So the Surabhi cow can give infinite quantities of milk. So Lord Krishna says here that among cows he is the Surabhi, and of causes for procreation he is Kandarpa. Now the cause for procreation means the cause for or the process of generating good children is also Lord Krishna himself. So not for sense gratification, but for creation of good children, for creation of devotee children. That process is also Lord Krishna. अनंतास्मि नागानां वारुणों यदसम् अहं पितॄणाम् आर्यमाचास्मि यम संयमतम् अहम्. Of the many-hooded Nagas, I am Ananta, and among the aquatics, I am demigod Varun. Of departed ancestors, I am Aryama, and among the dispensers of law, I am Yama, the Lord of Death. So this planet of where the ancestors go or reside, there is a presiding deity who is known as Aryama, who is also a representation of Lord Krishna. And as we all know that people who had committed sins, maybe small or big, so after such souls, such souls, when they leave their body in which they have, or in the life in which they have committed sins, they go to this Yamaloka. And in this Yamaloka, Yamraj administers all those punishments. He overlooks all those punishments. And Yamraj is also a representation of Lord Krishna himself. प्रह्लादश्चस्मि दैत्यानां काल्यताम् अहं मृगाणां च मृगेन्द्रोऽहं वैनतेयश्च पक्षिणाम्. Among the Daitya demons, I am the devoted Prahlad. Among subduers, I am Time. Among beasts, I am the lion, and among birds, I am Garuda. So we all know about the great devotee Prahlad Maharaj, the Prahlad Maharaj who took birth in a demoniac family, in a demoniac society, but he was from his childhood an ardent devotee of Vishnu, Lord Vishnu, and that great exalted devotee of Lord Vishnu, Prahlad Maharaj, is also representing Lord Krishna. And among subduers, Lord Krishna is the time. So the time is the aspect, is the controlling entity which takes away everything, which destroys everything. And Lord Krishna is also that is representing that time, which is the greatest subduer. And Garuda is that, again, Garuda is a devotee of Lord Vishnu. He is the carrier of Lord Vishnu, and at the same time he is representing, because he is the chief amongst the birds. Garuda is the chief amongst all the birds, and thus Garuda is also a representation of Lord Krishna. Pavatam asmi Rama Shastra Vritam aham Jasanam Makaraschasmi Shrotasam asmi Janavi. Of purifiers I am the wind. Of the wheelers of weapons I am Ram, of fishes I am Shark, and of flowing rivers I am Ganges. So we can understand how the biggest of amongst the species are actually representation of Lord Krishna. For example, lion, and then in this verse we read about the shark, then we read about Garuda. So they are the chiefs amongst the species, the respective species, and they are also representing Lord Krishna. सर्गानाम् आदिरन्तस्य मध्यं चैवाहम् अर्जुन आध्यात्मविद्या विद्यानां प्रवदताम् अहम्. Of all creations, I am the beginning and the end and also the middle, O Arjuna. Of all sciences, I am spiritual science of the self. And among logicians, I am the conclusive truth. So, a few verses prior to this one, we understood how Lord Krishna is the beginning, the middle, and the end of all the creations. So he again mentions this in this verse. And then we know that there are various branches of study. There are branches concerning the manifestations and various phenomena in this material universe, and then there are branches of study which concerns about the various species and so on. So there are these various sciences, but Lord Krishna mentions the highest amongst all of them is this spiritual science of the self, the soul, and then the relationship of the soul with the super soul, and then this spiritual science is also Lord Krishna himself. अक्षराणाम् आकरो अस्मि द्वन्द्व समाश्रितस्य च अहम् एवाक्षय कालो धाताहं विश्वतो मुखः. Of letters, I am the letter A. Among compound words, or this samasakasya, I am the dual compound. I am also in exhaustible time, and of creators I am Brahma. So this akara is the first of the alphabets, both in English and also in the Sanskrit, and thus Lord Krishna represents the first of the alphabets. मृत्यु सर्वहरश्चाहम् उद्भवस्य भविष्यताम् कीर्ति श्रीवाक्च नारीणाम् स्मृतिर्मेधा धृति क्षमा. I am all devouring death, and I am the generating principle of all that is yet to be. Among women I am fame, fortune, fine speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness and patience. So Lord Krishna here also says that he is the all-devouring death. So death is also a form of Lord Krishna. And he is also, at the same breath, he also says that he is the generating principle of all that has generated. And all these qualities are also representations of Lord Krishna himself. So fame, fortune, fine speech, memory, intelligence, and so on. बृहत् साम तथा साम्नां गायत्री छन्दसाम् अहं मासानां मार्गशीर्षोऽहं ऋतूनां कुसुमाकरः. of the hymns in the Sam Veda, I am Brihat Sama. This Brihat Sama is a composition in the Sam Veda, and it is very beautiful. And here Lord Krishna says he is, of all the hymns in the Sam Veda, he is Brihat Sama, and of poetry I am the Gayatri. Now this Gayatri mantra, through this chanting of Gayatri mantra, one can come closer to Lord Krishna. But this Gayatri mantra can be chanted by only those souls who have purified themselves, or those who are at least on the mode of goodness. And such souls are eligible to chant the Gayatri mantra. And as I said, by chanting Gayatri mantra, one attains devotion towards Lord Krishna. Of months, I am Margashisha, the November-December months respectively, and of seasons I am the flower-bearing spring. So Lord Krishna mentions here that he is amongst the months also. These November-December months are the representation of Lord Krishna, and this spring as a month is also represents Lord Krishna. द्यूतं छलतामस्मि तेजस्विनम् अहं जयोस्मि व्यवसायोस्मि सत्वं सत्ववतम् अहम्. So Lord Krishna says, I am also the gambling of the cheats, of the splendid I am splendor, I am victory, I am adventure, and I am the strength of the strong. So Lord Krishna also here says that if of all the cheatings he is the gambling, he is because gambling is the chief among all the cheating activities, and that also in a way represents Lord Krishna. Now one thing is that because Lord Krishna is transcendental, so even if he deceits someone, if he cheats someone, that is also transcendental, or it gives so much happiness to the devotees. Now one example is of the pastime where he killed Putana. Now Putana came in the garb of a very beautiful woman, and she was thinking that she would cheat. I mean, she actually kind of cheated the Vrindavan Vasis, the Vraja Vasis. So when she was going through the streets of Vrindavana and she was entering the Nanda Maharaj's residence, everyone was thinking that she is like a demigoddess because she is so beautiful, and she is bedecked with all the ornaments. She is appearing just like she is an angel who has descended from the heavens. So everyone was thinking like that. So Putana was trying to deceive all the Vrindavan Vasis, the Vraja Vasis, and she even wanted to deceive Lord Krishna himself. So although Acharyas say that Putana had a feeling from inside that this baby to whom I am trying to give poison is this super lord, but even after knowing that, she tried to deceive him by in the form of giving milk, by giving her breast milk. She tried to kill Lord Krishna, but we see that how Lord Krishna himself took the life breath out of her, and although just a small baby who was born few days ago, he killed that giant demoness within seconds, and just by simply sucking her breast, he took away all the life forms. So Lord Krishna deceived Putana in such a majestic way. So although being a small child and simply sucking breast to drink the milk, so in that very gentle and very this childlike manner, in this I mean not even a child, he's a baby. Lord Krishna in the form of a baby, he is drinking a milk, but by drinking that milk or by sucking the breast, he just take out the life. He takes the life from Putana. So that is the that's a kind of a cheating, but that is so supreme, that is so transcendental, and we hear about it, and we feel so relished about hearing these pastimes of Lord Krishna. So, although cheating in this universe, gambling in this universe is kind of prohibited. I mean, it's a restrictive. I mean, in scriptures it is restricted, but because Lord Krishna is transcendental, even if he cheats, that is also transcendental, that is also relishable. So here, as he says that amongst the gambling, amongst the cheats, he is the gambling, and then of course he is of the splendid. He is the splendor. He is victory. He is adventure. He is the strength of the strong. वृष्णीनां वासुदेवोऽस्मि पाण्डवानां धनञ्जय मुनीनामपि अहं व्यास कवीनाम् उषण कवि. Of the descendants of Vrishni, I am Vasudeva. Of Pandavas, I am Arjuna. Of the sages, I am Vyasa, and among great thinkers, I am Ushana. So even Arjunji is actually a representation of Lord Krishna. So this in a way clarifies that Arjuna ji is just playing a role and of a common human being, and whatever questions he had asked till now in Bhagavad Gita and whatever questions he is going to ask in the future are ultimately meant for our benefit, because Arjuna ji is a representation of Lord Krishna, so he shouldn't have any doubt about Lord Krishna or about this existence or about one's own duty, but all these questions he is raising just for us to be enlightened upon. So that's it. And then among sages, Lord Krishna is Vyasdev. So we know Vyasdev ji has written, he has documented Vedas, Puranas, Upanishads, and here we see that Vyasdev ji is none other than a representation or an incarnation of Lord Krishna. And Ushana mentioned here is actually Shukracharya. Verse 38. Dando damayatam asmi nitir asmi jigishatam Maunam chaivasmi gohyanam jnanam jnanavatam aham. Among all the means of suppressing lawlessness, I am punishment, and of those who seek victory, I am morality. Of secret things, I am silence, and of the wise, I am the wisdom. यच्चापि सर्वभूतानां बीजं तदहम् अर्जुन न तद अस्ति विना यत्स्यान् मया भूतं चराचरम्. Furthermore, O Arjuna, I am the generating seed of all existence. There is no being, moving or unmoving, non-moving, that can exist without me. So again and again, Lord Krishna is mentioning that nothing can exist without him, and we should have faith. Now, by this time, we should have always get some faith in worshipping Lord Krishna, and considering Lord Krishna to be the supreme most, because he is saying again and again that it is because of him all the things, all the living beings around us are there. So it's all his energies. So we should be grateful, thankful, and have a worshipful attitude toward Lord Krishna. नान्तु अस्ति मम दिव्यानां विभूतीनां परन्तपा एषद उद्देश्यता प्रोक्तो विभूतेर्विस्तरो मया. O mighty conqueror of enemies, there is no end to my divine manifestations. What I have spoken to you is but a mere indication of my infinite opulences. यद यद विभूति मत सत्वम श्रीमद ऊर्जितम एव वा तत्तद एव वगच्छा त्वं मम तेजो आंस संभवम. Know that all opulent, beautiful and glorious creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. So anything extraordinary opulent which we see is to be considered a part of Krishna's opulence himself. So this is what Lord Krishna said in this verse. And verse 42, the final verse of this chapter. Athava bahunaytena kim gyatena tavarjuna vistabhyaham idam kritsnam ekam sena sthito jagat. But what need is there, Arjuna, for all this detailed knowledge? With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. So, Lord Krishna is saying that, what is the need of all these different opulences? Bringing out of this details of his opulences, because the biggest and the most wonderful thing is that, with a portion of himself, he is pervading throughout this entire universe, through all the living beings, existing within everyone's heart as a super soul, and at the same time he is responsible for creation of this universe. He is ensuring this universe goes on as it should be, and then at a correct time all the universes get unmanifested. But all of this he is doing with just a simple portion of his energies. Now, isn't it a very wonderful thing that he's a manager, he's managing this whole entire universe, but he is not investing himself fully in doing that. Okay, he is saying, on the contrary, he is saying he is within with a single fragment of himself. Okay, he is pervading and supporting this entire universe. Now we all have understanding of doing something or managing something or overlooking something. So we have to put our time, we have to put our effort, we have to put our own energy. Sometimes we have to completely surrender ourselves to the activity or the job which we are doing. But here Lord Krishna says that this entire universe, not only this universe, the entire material universe, which consists of billions and billions of planets and uncountable number of living beings, all of them are supported by a simple small fragment of his energy. So we can understand, or we can try to understand, how Lord Krishna is supreme. In the previous verses, we also understood that how Indra or Brahmaji or Shivji are also partial manifestations of him, or they are also they represent Lord Krishna, and at the same time they are parts and parcel of Lord Krishna. All the entire creation being part and parcel of Lord Krishna. So starting from the chief demigods like Brahmaji, Shivji, they are also parts and parcels of Lord Krishna. Or in other words, Lord Krishna is responsible or is the reason of their presence. So we can very well understand that how Lord Krishna is the supreme most. There can be these chief demigods, and then there are many other demigods and demigoddesses, but we should understand that Lord Krishna's position is supreme, and hence, and all the other demigods and goddesses are there. They are parts and parcels of Lord Krishna. They have been invested with certain potencies, but they are not Supreme Lord. So we shouldn't think Brahmaji is the Supreme Lord, or Shivji is the Supreme Lord, or Mother Kali or Mother Durga are the Supreme God. They are the topmost God. So we shouldn't think like that, because scriptures themselves say, here for example, Lord Krishna here himself is saying that with a single fragment of himself he is supporting this entire universe. And then there are other scriptures as well which state similar thing. For example, there is a mention of Padma Puran verse, a quotation from Padma Puran which mentions, that verse mentions that how we shouldn't think that even the chief demigods like Brahmaji or Shivji are at the same level as Supreme Lord Krishna himself. Because if we do that, then we immediately become an atheist or a non-believer. So we should know there is the Supreme Lord, Lord Krishna, and then there are the demigods and demigoddesses. Then of course there the chief amongst them, Brahmaji and Shivji, and we should respect them, because they have been given certain powers by Lord Krishna, Lord Vishnu, and we should see all these things in their correct perspective. And at the same time, we should, having read about all the opulences about Lord Krishna, and having gotten a glimpse of how Supreme Lord Krishna is and how his opulences are spread everywhere. Wherever we see there is an opulence of Lord Krishna, a manifestation of Lord Krishna. So while knowing this, we should have we should start reciprocating with Lord Krishna, and we should worship Lord Krishna. And with this understanding, we should lead our lives, that how Lord Krishna has manifested all these varied manifestations around us, and how we should be so much thankful to him, how we should be grateful to him, and as an act of reciprocation we should worship him. So that act of worship, that act of service is nothing other than this worshipping Lord, or in the forms of chanting his names, calling out his name. So by chanting out his names, you can show you can show your thankfulness towards him for giving you whatever you have, and in this way you can start worshipping him if you haven't already started. So the idea of to bring out all these opulences of Lord Krishna was a plain simple one, which was that one gathers some respect for Lord Krishna, and to acknowledge that respect, one start worshipping Lord Krishna. So with this message, I will close today's session. Thank you for attending this one, and in the next chapter, we would see how Lord Krishna would manifest some of these opulences to Arjunaji. So he would show the supreme, the universal form to Arjuna. Okay. So with this, I will say Hare Krishna, and hope we connect again in the succeeding weeks. Thank you.